On this video, I turned the CUSHAW into a delicious dessert for Thanksgiving. Come on. This year's CUSHAW squash came out darker than last year, and it was thicker skin too. So we decided to eat the tip because I love this squash. I love how it tastes. It's just so sweet on its own, very, very sweet. So I took this part and left it curing on my countertop for 3 weeks for the dessert. But we enjoy this part. I love it. It tastes between a chayote and a zucchini. So you can either do it in a microwave with a little bit of water or boil it with a little bit of salt. That's how we enjoyed it. I love this squash. You could see the skin still very, very thick even in the beginning before we used it for this next dish that I'm about to show you. So to do the squash, after 3 weeks that it's been curing on your counter, it gets pretty messy. So of course I have to cover my counter. And here's some ingredients. This is the ingredients you're gonna need. A pumpkin or winter squash, a whole panela, which I'm about to show you, a cup of water, 1 cinnamon stick, 4 cloves, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Make sure you get a deep pan because look how big this is. I didn't even use the whole thing, but even a pumpkin, which is the one we usually use, you should get a smaller pumpkin, not a big one, depending on how deep your pot is. I wanted this squash because I saved these seeds. Oh, look how beautiful they are. So I have a lot of seeds saved from this. For this dish, the older the pumpkin or squash, the better it tastes. Cut it into thick chunks. It's okay for it to be very, very thick because you need the syrup to go in the meat. This one is perfect, just like this. See how hard the skin is? It needs to be hard, like winter squash. Now this is a panela. It's just the raw sugar. I'm sure sugar comes, the sugar cane grows all over the world where it's hot and tropical. But I only know of the one that grows here from Mexico all the way to South America. The cane grows like similar to corn stalks, and when it's completely ripe, as you can see the color changing here, there it's cut. Then it's stalked and later taken to get pressed. Nowadays it's done with machines, but being that these were harvested in the third world country, many people still use the oxen and this older model for crushing the cane and extracting the juice. Then it's put in these vats and left to dry until it looks just like this. And it's covered with corn husk, just like the one I'm doing right here, but be careful, don't cut your fingers. I've been doing this for a while. And it looks like that. The older, the harder it is. So then you have to cut it. The only way I know how to cut it into little pieces is the same way I was doing, just chop, 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 chop. Again, be careful with your fingers. But you need to cut it to smaller pieces so that it can dissolve better. I put the whole panela at the bottom of the pot and then add a little bit of water. However, let me let you know something. The CUSHAW squash has more water than the usual pumpkin that I use for this dish. So I would probably just put a half a cup or a quarter of a cup of water to start dissolving it, because this CUSHAW it was very syrupy instead of, I'm sorry, it was very watery instead of syrupy. So less water would be better. The taste was excellent, but the syrup should be thicker. The squash was already washed when I first used it about 3 weeks ago, but I decided to wash it again. And you stack it down with the skin up. I guess it doesn't really matter. See all this? This is what's good. It gets full of syrup at the end. We eat it just like this, but it doesn't really matter, I guess, because at the end the whole thing turns upside down anyway. But this is the way I was taught, and this is the way I do it. The deeper the pot, the more squash you can put in there. When you first start it, make sure that it's on high. But as it starts boiling, then turn it pretty low. And let it boil for an hour. Check it. As you can see here, it shouldn't look like this. It should be darker, pretty brown, like you can't see the orange. So let it boil until you see it dark. Hour and a half is what it took for this one. It could be an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours. And it should be thicker, like I said. It's just this squash has a lot of water in it anyway. See how it is here? It's done, but it's still too watery. However, I didn't want it to disintegrate anymore, so I started dishing it out. And this is the result. This is what we call ayote and miel, or pumpkin with syrup. It's delicious. So delicious. It could be one that you might use for Thanksgiving, something different. I don't know. Try it. You'll love it.
Oh, this is delicious. Delicious.
Wow, that's delicious. The best, yeah. That's good.
Thank you, Mom.
I want more.
Okay.
One more.
Thank you. And as always, hit the bell, like, share, and subscribe.